Should blacks date outside of their race? I don't know. That's what we're talking about today. So, what prompted me to do this particular video is last weekend I was leaving the movie theater and a couple walks out in front of me, a white Caucasian lady and a black man. They were a couple. And when I saw him grab her hand and held on to her in such a loving way, it did something to it. It was moving for me, especially as a love coach, because you always want to see these sort of loving acts in any kind of relationship. And what they were showing me was how secure and confident they were in their union. And it just made me begin to think, you know, can this happen with anyone else? Has anyone else experienced this dating interracially? I don't know. So I know as black people, we've always dated within our own race, married our own kind. Yet we somehow have not come to that level of devotion and loyalty and having successful relationships, which made me even more confused as to why we have all been programmed to somehow remain within our own group of people. Considering, yeah. And as I began to drive home, I began to think even more about the situation, how we tend to represent, the whole black love slogan. Like, where did that originate from? What's the origin of that? Because I really have not seen a whole lot of loving relationships within our community, marriages that have been long term and healthy. I really haven't seen that. So for me, if you're going to promote a slogan or whatever you want to call it, you kind of need to have the proper representation. This way it's credible to others on the outside. Yeah. Because we're in these relationships with our own kind, yet we're having even more failed relationships every decade. It's on a decline. So one from the outside would just think, a wise person would say, well, if you've been doing the same thing with the same type of person, getting the same outcome, it's a little insane, don't you think? Perhaps you should try something new. And I'm just confused about how we came to this whole black loyalty and black love when it never really persisted, to my knowledge. So correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm missing something here, okay? Because see, what I do know is that history has a way of repeating itself with the truth, yeah? And I began to think even further back, like, have we really always been that loyal to our own kind? Okay? If you're new to my channel, I like to dive deep into situations and not start from the end and make an assessment or analysis. No, I like to take it all the way back to the beginning to make it make more sense. Okay? And so I began to think about how the wealthy Nigerian African slave owners would take impoverished Nigerians, Africans, capture them, sell them to the Europeans to sell over here to the Americas. Yeah, slave traders. And so where's the loyalty there? So you have to go back to the beginning to make things make sense. And then as I began to ponder even further, like, has there ever really been a decade to where you can actually say there has been long-term black devotion when it comes to households, like staying together, because anywhere from the early 20s on, when everything was struggle up to the 50s, it was about survival. So to be with someone else was like survival mode. So outside of that, 60s on up, where has that been? And I said, okay, maybe the 60s, late 60s or whatever, when they were doing the whole unity and black power. But then I began to think the very people who were teaching that were the ones being arrested for being caught with white prostitutes and drug possession while married, might I add. So I'm just a little freaking confused. Excuse me if I seem so confused about it, of where we came about that we should date within our own race to have a successful relationship and to keep it, loyal and devoted and all of that stuff. I haven't seen it. It's 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 actually gotten worse over the past 10 years. It's a decline. Truth be told, but 75 to 80% of us never saw that level of embrace with our mother and father. You never saw them kiss or hug and have fun with each other. You never had that experience. Am I wrong? Most of us grew up in a single parent household. Now there are a small percentage that have been able to see mom and dad dance around the house, be playful and loving with each other, even though they may have, little spats every now and then. Didn't matter. 15 minutes later, they were upstairs banging up headboards and creating baby number 3. All right, it was good. If you receive that, well, I want you to always carry that in your heart and in your mind. And I want you to pass that along to another brown beauty, someone who's going to reciprocate so that you can continuously pass this along to your little brown people, okay? This is what we need, unity. Only a few of our kind has only had that experience, and that's quite depressing. So when we say black love, here's my thing. I've only dated black guys, okay? I've only had my closest friends were all black. As a result, those people are no longer in my life. Why? Envy for no reason. Perhaps they tried to take advantage of me, betrayed my trust. No, it's okay, because they've long since been forgotten and banished from my world indefinitely. Yeah, no love. Although I cherished and loved them dearly, I still do to this day, but they're no longer with me. Now, there are other groups of people outside of blackness who have helped mold me and my character into who I am today. Scottish, Irish, Italian, Caucasian American. Yes, all those people who have been prevalent in my life, whom I will never forget. My first job was given to me by a Scottish couple. Mr. John and his wife owned a supermarket. They hired me as a cashier. But what I now realize is that they jeopardized their livelihood by hiring me at the age of 14. Yeah. I once had a superior who invited me to a Christmas party. A black hood chick, 26-year-old hood chick, into her lavish waterfront home. She welcomed me with open arms and was ever gracious. Peggy O'Brien, thank you so much for accepting me. Sabrina, a hopeless romantic who would always acknowledge my birthdays and Christmas with the most amazing heartfelt gifts. I love you, always. Darren, who surprised me with an overpriced $12.99 specialty cupcake, just because. Yeah, sure, it was a flirtatious gesture, but at the same time, no black guy has ever thought to do that. Miss Vicky, Silly Vicky, who brings me the biggest box of chocolates for Valentine's Day. It took me nearly 3 months to eat. I love you always, girl. Thank you. Johnny the maintenance guy, who would never let me go without having lunch on days I couldn't leave the office, willing to use his gas to bring me lunch and often pay for it. You're my guy, dude. Thank you always. Amy and Lisa, thank you so much for giving me the confidence that I was lacking as a 19-year-old and promoting me to be supervisor, trusting me with making nightly deposits to the bank. Okay? A hood sister. Yeah. On top of that, treating me every other Friday to Red Lobster while I sat there and watched you guys drink your White Russians. I love you always. for trusting me. I remember one time I was having a good time spending money reckless. And I was saying this to my office manager, who was also my friend at the time. She immediately went into petty cash, gave me the money I needed to pay my utility. Yeah, and more, a little more. Yeah, she had my back. Now, was that petty cash ever repaid? I don't know, but it was a blessing for me. She also made certain that I always worked smarter. Thank you, Harriet Mead, for always having my back. I love you, sister. So the list can go on, to be honest. You know, to tell you the truth, what I do here on this channel may have never really happened if it wasn't for my beautiful Italian Joni, who is no longer with me. Had she never given me that astrology book because she was too depressed to read it. And I read it from front to back and got into it. 2 weeks later, she was killed in a tragic accident. Well, a dope boy was running from a cop, okay? But it was like a blessing for me. I took that book and information and brought it to this channel just as an experiment. And because of that, here I am, okay? So I say all of that to say this. So should we just be confined, constricted, and restrained, oh, the irony, to one group of people, one race, blackness, because of someone's fucking skin color? Is that what we're supposed to be doing? No, see, that seems like hatred to me, and hate will never be taught nor tolerated on this channel. In closing, if ever you are presented with the opportunity to receive acts of love and kindness from the outside, outside of black, well, accept it, embrace it, and reciprocate. Love is love, no matter from whence it came.